Rand, a couple of months ago, you were saying as we transition out of the winter months into the summer months, that people were going to start coming out of their caves and we were going to start seeing a lot more volume, a lot more shots. And I tell you what, this month that we're about to look at, I don't want to say it's the best yet because I feel like I always say that, but it's definitely the deepest month we've looked at yet. I feel like there were 30 shots that could have been number one in one of our earlier winter videos.
The volume was crazy this month, and all the photos we had to pick from, it's like any of these could make the top 10 list.
James, they're getting better.
They are. They really are, man.
We knew watch out. They're getting better.
I'm very intimidated by some of these shots.
Seriously.
We're doing things a little differently now. For those of you who haven't been watching these videos, if you've never heard us explain how we get to a top 10, Justin has integrated into his own website. He's added this ranking system, which is a really great experience. It's an easy drag and drop type deal. And then after all four of us submit our individual votes, it comes up with a score, and then you get an average, and that's how we come to our top 10. And that's always been how the 10 that we talk about have been determined. The average rules all. But then last month, David, you said that one of your shots, the shot you voted number one, ended up being ranked 16. I think that was the number you said. It was outside the top 10. So the other three of us, we didn't see the shot the same way you did. But then I started thinking about it. I started thinking, if somebody gives a shot a number one vote, there must be a good reason, a reason that's worth discussing. So what we're going to do now is any shot that received a number one vote will automatically be bumped into the top 10, no matter where the average had it falling. So David, that shot that you had that was ranked number 16 last month, that would have been number 10.
James, just to add to what you were saying there, and so everybody knows that's watching, when we do our voting, it's blind voting. So we just have a random list of whatever the number of photos is for that month. Then we individually vote on those, and we do not see the results until everybody's votes in. And that's how we also get the surprise of our votes. That ties into what you were saying about why some of the number ones were like maybe 16th and not 10th, because if we were collaborating we'd make it fit, but this way we've just slightly changed the algorithm so a 16th would be number 10. You don't get bumped up, just enough to be in there.
Just because if someone, like I said, if somebody thinks it's number one, it's worth talking about.
Yeah,
agreed.
So last month's gold medalist Storm is back into the top 10 with this shot from Back to the Future, Hito Zapata.
This location has kind of become my favorite Back to the Future location, and this guy's having a lot of fun. Sometimes I think we get away from the fun aspect a little bit and go into the challenge of the big nature scenes and, the angles, everything. This guy just went there, had fun. It's just one of those that bring you back to the fun aspect of the hobby.
Punctuate the fact that you saying it's fun. I mean, that fact, he's holding that sign that says too loud. I mean, come on. Such a nice cherry on top of it.
Perfect.
You don't have to be around this hobby very long before you start to understand who the heavy hitters are, who the heavyweights are. And Martin Higgins, how far back does your familiarity with Martin Higgins reach?
I don't remember, but he's been pretty active lately.
Yes, he has. And that's why I asked. He's like the new kingpin of this hobby. What he's been doing this month. Like last month he was in Poland, and now we got shots from England, from coast to coast in the States. This shot from Castaway, of course, the famous Crossroads shot has been a very popular one amongst movie location hunters for a long time. But I think this particular one, this ranch here, I think it's a fairly recent discovery. I think somebody found that for the first time within the last 2 years.
This was my number one pick because I've not seen it before. Again, I love the movie and so on. So I had a bit of a look at this. This is, if you go to that crossroads and you go north 6 miles, you get to this ranch.
Born Yesterday by Andy Height. I tell you what, there are a lot of resources. If you're going to be traveling to a certain city and you want to start doing research and gathering up ideas for shots to get or in the place where you're going to be, there's a lot of resources out there that'll help you do that. But if you're going to Washington, D.C., just go to Historic Film Locations on Facebook, use the search feature, and just type in Andy Height's name. Brother Andy has got Washington, D.C. And he's a lot of movies that you probably wouldn't think of. And Born Yesterday, it never occurred to me to look for Born Yesterday in Washington, D.C., but this shot at the Library of Congress is gorgeous.
I don't remember where I ranked that, but it was high up.
Just the majesty of the architecture and the way things intersect. And,
Great. Yeah. And it's nice to see the contrast, the original in really, really hard contrast, black and white, against a much more natural looking color shot.
It's one of those photos that even if it wasn't from a movie, you could
Exactly.
you could put it behind glass and hang it on a wall.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh boy. Here's Martin again. Old Martin Higgins again. American Werewolf in London. Justin, have you been to this place?
Been to this place, yes. And this small village, when I went there, a guy that's a local, because it really is, I mean, there's maybe 3 or 4 houses there, and a guy came out and said, "Oh, I bet you're here for the werewolf movie." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, other people were here. We had 2 guys on a motorbike with metal like jackets and all this sort of stuff on from Germany here the other day." He says, "Every day there's someone here from this rubbish movie."
That's good to know.
But yeah, back to this shot. I mean, just right down to just all the markings on the graves. Man, so cool to see that side by side. Musso and Frank Grill, an old school golden age of Hollywood landmark. Very popular place. You can't name a movie star that hasn't been there. The place is always packed. I've been to Musso and Frank and tried to accomplish what Mark Lyons here accomplished, and it's not easy. The place is always so full of people. And on top of that, the camera shot is coming from behind the bar, so you probably had to ask a bartender to get the shot for him. And I don't know about you guys, but in my experience, that rarely goes well.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Here, Mark Lyons' shot is just great. Have all 4 of us been to the Biltmore? Is this a location that all 4 of us have been to?
Never done that photo, but yep.
So all 4 of us have been there, and I think anybody who's a movie location hunter who makes their first trip to LA, it seems like going to the Biltmore for Ghostbusters shots is high on most people's lists. The Biltmore is very, very popular, but this particular shot is so specific. I've never seen it before. Love it. And the fact that they're in costume.
Yeah, that's why I ranked up so high. They got extra credit from me, dude.
Yeah, it's David, the cosplay guy. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you cosplay and, like, it's decent, they don't even have to be wearing their packs. The fact that they're wearing flight suits, extra credit from me, dude.
You have to be in the middle of the street to get this shot, if I'm not mistaken.
You have to be in the street, not in the middle of the street, though. He looks like he's just off the curb.
Well, whatever he did, man, I'm impressed.
Absolutely schooled it. He crushed the photo. Great job.
Dude.
Yeah, that one's good.
Justin, do you have any intel on this one?
Yes, this is a hard find. It's one of those where it's not obvious, and this sounds really silly. It's not obvious until you find it, and then it's so obvious. But it's just a weird. You just have to sort of walk around, and you got a bit of an idea of where it could be, but you don't really have a reference to the direction of it based on, because it's what night where they built the fort and so on. I remember just looking around, and it's like, this is going to be impossible to find, and all of a sudden, there it is. But that is one of those satisfying finds, because it's such a significant part in the movie, and it's like, yeah, you know. So I remember doing that. And again, movie magic. I mean, I know we were talking about just go up from Castaway 6 miles up the road. All you need to do is walk 20 meters from this to the road. That's how close it was when they built for the filming and so on.
Martin Higgins.
Again, Jesus.
Yeah, this is his third one. Martin, three out of the top this month. This shot by Martin Higgins and from Stand By Me in Brownsville, Oregon. Now, I got this shot, like, I think about 12, 13 years ago. I got this shot, but back then, this was a vacant lot. Now this is on private property. I don't know how Martin was able to get it. I don't know if it was luck. I don't know if it was hubris, but congratulations. You got to love the achievement, and you got to love the fact that all these years later, this tree still looks the same.
What I like about this photo as well is it doesn't always tell the whole story, because if you don't know, and you've been there, James, and I think this is what makes this interesting, is you just assume that may just be an open grass sort of walk area that someone's just walked to.
Sure.
But you don't realise, like you said, that maybe more effort's gone into that. Maybe he got lucky. Maybe he just got there, didn't know that maybe there was no signs, took the photo, didn't think anything of it, or he asked, because sometimes asking can make a difference. Sometimes, in my experience, I found that when it says no trespass and you ask, people are like, yeah, fine. It's because you asked. What they don't want is you just to assume that you can just do it. And the only thing I would say about that is I would change it to say standby tree.
Now that's how you wrap up a section right there. That's awesome.
See what you did there.
Okay, before we get to this month's gold medalist, let's check out a few honorable mentions that are just way too good to leave out of this video entirely. Brian Whitt, of course, he's a monthly contender. Steve Dahlman, of course, he's also a monthly contender. Gareth Mullen, seems like we mention his name every month as well. Boy, his matchups on these shots from Andor are pretty flawless. Alfie Martin also got some great shots from Andor. Isaac Jayton. Isaac, I gotta give you props for having the stones to get that close to the Breaking Bad house. Most people don't dare get that close. Well done, sir. Jordan Nash, Alex Welsh, Emmanuel Selmy, Paul Sneed, our buddy Randy Parsons, Ryan Thomas, and Ahmed El Hittori. Of course, who can forget all of his great Sergio Leone shots in Spain? Now he's back doing some James Bond action. And Roberto Santucci. Can I get a drum roll for this month's medalist? Tommy Major strikes again.
Now, look, I've never been to Lake Powell, but don't you have to be on the water to get that shot?
This is where I'm heading with this, because I was in this part of the country like 15 years ago. You know, this hobby was a little younger. The information available was not quite what it is now. And like you said, Justin, a couple shots ago, you do this long enough, you start to understand movie crews usually shoot where there's easy access, because they need to get the crew there. They need to get the cast there. They need to get dressing rooms and honey wagons and equipment, and, you know, they got to set it all up. So they want to make it as easy on themselves as possible. Therefore, these places are often very easy to find. And I went to Lake Powell believing that. Boy, was I wrong.
I think that's what most people who are after shots like this think when they're going to Lake Powell.
Lake Powell is absolutely enormous, and there's all these fingers to it, and the land around it is so treacherous. There's only one place to access Lake Powell by car, and that's Page, Arizona. You have to rent a boat. If you want this shot, you have to rent a boat.
Yeah, he's on the lake, right? He's on the water. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What Tommy did here is an absolute achievement. This was not only my #1 vote for the month, this might be my favorite shot of the entire year so far. This is so damn good.
That was my #1 vote as well. Oh, wait a minute. Guess what?
That's great detective work, Baston.
That's what I just noticed.
T-shirt.
Shirt!
Yeah. Give it up for Tommy Major.
Yeah, dude, #1. That's awesome.
Well done, Tommy. Tommy, if you watch this video, please leave a comment regaling us of this experience and how you accomplished this.
Yeah, do tell. I would like to know as well.
That was a great month, great shots. Every one of them were fantastic, and any of them could have been #1, really.